Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into a story that has it all. Empires crumbling, religious clashes, and a family of unlikely heroes taking center stage.
Oh yeah, this one's a wild ride.
We're cracking open the book of First Maccabees today. It tells the story of the Maccabees, a Jewish family who dared to stand up to the mighty Seleucid Empire.
You know, it's fascinating how this whole saga starts with the aftermath of Alexander the Great.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everyone knows Alexander, right? But what happened after he was gone?
Well, after his death, his massive empire, it kind of fell apart, right? Like a house of cards. And that power vacuum, well, that's exactly what the Seleucids needed to swoop in and grab control of Judea.
So picture this.
Yeah.
You're a Jew living in Judea, life's going along as usual, and suddenly, bam, new rulers, new rules, new everything.
And not just any new rulers. The Seleucids were all about spreading their own Greek culture, what they called Hellenization.
Hellenization,
Yeah.
right? But this wasn't just about picking up a new hobby, like learning Greek pottery or something.
Not at all. We're talking about a complete cultural overhaul. Gymnasiums popping up, Greek customs becoming the norm.
Even interfering with traditional Jewish practices.
Exactly. It must have been a total shock to the system for the Jewish people.
It's like, imagine someone coming into your home and saying, okay, new rules, we're doing things my way now. It's got to create some serious tension.
Absolutely. Some people might have seen it as a way to get ahead, maybe a path to more opportunities.
Right, like, hey, if you can't beat them, join them, kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe. But others, they would have fiercely resisted it.
They saw it as a direct attack on their faith, on their very identity.
Exactly. And those tensions, they just exploded when Antiochus V Epiphanes took over.
Oh yeah, Antiochus V Epiphanes. This guy was not messing around.
Not at all. He cranked Hellenization up to 11, outlawed Jewish practices, desecrated the temple in Jerusalem, even forced Jews to sacrifice to pagan gods.
I mean, talk about adding fuel to the fire.
Oh, absolutely. It was a systematic attempt to wipe out their culture, to just erase it.
And that's where our hero of the hour steps in. Mattathias, a Jewish priest.
Mattathias, the OG rebel.
He's in Modin, sees a fellow Jew about to make a pagan sacrifice,
Uh-huh.
and he just snaps.
Couldn't take it anymore.
Kills both the guy and the Seleucid official forcing the sacrifice. Bold move.
Absolutely. You know, it was a turning point, a line in the sand.
From that moment, things were never going to be the same.
Nope. Mattathias knew he had to act fast, gathered his 5 sons, and fled into the wilderness.
Like a scene straight out of an action movie.
Right. And his call to arms, it just echoed through Judea. Whoever is zealous for the law and maintains the covenant, let him follow me.
Powerful stuff. He was drawing the line. Are you with us or against us?
Exactly. But those early days of the rebellion, they were marked by tragedy too, you know?
Oh, yeah. That story about the group of pious Jews who refused to fight on the Sabbath.
Heartbreaking. They were massacred.
It just shows the complexity of their situation. I mean, how do you reconcile your faith with the need to defend yourself, your family?
Such a tough question. It's a dilemma that people have grappled with for centuries.
To fight or not to fight, even when your very existence is on the line, it's heavy stuff.
Absolutely. But for Mattathias, he ultimately concluded that they had to defend themselves, even on the Sabbath.
Their faith, their lives, it was all under attack. They couldn't just stand by.
And that decision, it really shifted the whole rebellion. They became more proactive, more, well, let's just say it, more militaristic.
Enter Judas Maccabeus.
Judas Maccabeus. The hammer, some say.
The guy was a military genius, a total force of nature on the battlefield.
Oh, yeah. He rallied the Jewish forces and just started racking up victories. I mean, against all odds, he was taking down the Seleucids left and right.
And his victory at Emmaus, that was something else.
Oh, tell me about it. Picture this. The Seleucid army, all decked out, way bigger than Judas's forces. They're marching on Emmaus, totally confident.
I thought they had this in the bag.
Totally. But Judas, he's a strategist. He knows the land. He knows his enemy. He hatches this brilliant plan.
I bet it involved a surprise attack.
You got it, a pre-dawn strike. The Seleucids never saw it coming.
Total chaos.
It sent shock waves through the region. The Jewish rebels, they weren't just a minor annoyance anymore.
They were a real threat. They had to be taken seriously.
Absolutely. This victory at Emmaus, it wasn't just about military strategy. It was a symbol, you know, a sign that faith and courage can overcome even the most powerful enemy.
David and Goliath, Maccabee style.
Exactly. And it set the stage for something even bigger, the recapture of Jerusalem.
Their holy city, their heart and soul.
And when they got there, devastation.
I can't even imagine.
The temple totally desecrated, the altar defiled, pagan idols everywhere. It was a gut punch.
A slap in the face to everything they held sacred.
Absolutely. But they didn't let it break them. They immediately set about cleansing the temple, rebuilding the altar according to Jewish law.
It was a labor of love, a testament to their faith.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then came the rededication. They relit the menorah.
The symbol of their faith, shining bright again.
They offered sacrifices, the way they always had. And that, my friend, is how Hanukkah was born.
The Festival of Lights, a celebration of light overcoming darkness.
Faith triumphing over adversity. And it's celebrated to this day.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope can flicker back to life. But, 1 Maccabees doesn't shy away from the tough stuff either. It tells it like it is.
Oh, yeah, it's not all sunshine and roses. There were setbacks,
Whoa.
internal conflicts, things that threatened to tear the whole rebellion apart.
Like that time when Judas's brothers, Joseph and Azarias, disobeyed his orders.
Yep, big mistake. Led to a major defeat.
Proves that even when you're fighting for a just cause, things can go south fast.
Especially when unity breaks down. Ego gets in the way.
It's a good lesson for any movement, really. Stay focused, stay united, or you'll fall apart from the inside out. And then, to top it all off, Antiochus V kicks the bucket.
You'd think that would bring some peace, right? Wrong.
It's like every time they catch a break, something else blows up.
Exactly. This time, it's Lysias, the regent for the young Antiochus V. He goes full throttle on Judea.
All-out war.
And he brings in the big guns, literally. War elephants.
Hold on, war elephants? Like those giant tusked creatures?
The same ones. Can you imagine facing those things on the battlefield? Terrifying.
It's something out of a fantasy novel.
I know, right? But it was real, and it was brutal.
So what happened when these war elephants met the Jewish forces? I can't wait to hear about this. Welcome back, everyone. So last time, we left off with the Jewish forces facing those war elephants. Talk about a cliffhanger.
Right. And then you've got this new Seleucid king, Demetrius I, trying a different approach. Playing nice.
Offering concessions, making promises. But could the Jews really trust him?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, Demetrius, he was a shrewd politician.
You knew how to play the game.
And his actions, well, they spoke louder than words,
So what happened? Did he launch another attack?
Not exactly. He took a more subtle approach. More like a divide and conquer. He appointed this guy, Alcimus, as high priest.
Alcimus. Now, he was Jewish, right?
Yeah, but his loyalties were, well, let's just say they were a bit murky.
Bit of a wild card, then.
Yeah, you could say that. And this move, it created a real rift in the Jewish community.
Like a wedge driven right through them.
Exactly. Some saw Alcimus as a legitimate leader,
Maybe a chance for some stability.
Right. But others, they saw him as a puppet of the Seleucids.
A Trojan horse, bringing the enemy in from the inside.
And boy, did things get messy. Alcimus, he was hungry for power.
And he wasn't afraid to use it.
Not at all. He clashed with Judas Maccabeus, resorted to violence, treachery.
Talk about a hostile takeover.
And then there's this truly heartbreaking story about the Hasidians.
They were a group of pious Jews, right?
Yeah, super devout, and they wanted peace. So they tried to negotiate with Alcimus.
Big mistake.
Huge. Alcimus, he lured them into a trap and had them slaughtered.
Just wipe them out. It's a chilling reminder that even in the midst of fighting for freedom, you can't let your guard down.
No, you can't. Trust is a fragile thing, especially in times like these.
And speaking of fragile, things were about to get even worse for the rebellion. Because Judas Maccabeus,
The hammer.
yeah, he meets his end.
Killed in battle against a Seleucid general named Bacchides.
Just like that, their brilliant leader, their symbol of hope, gone. What a blow.
It's devastating. The whole rebellion could have crumbled right then and there.
But it didn't.
No, because Judas had brothers. And one of them, Jonathan, he stepped up to lead.
Jonathan. So how was he as a leader? Was he like Judas, a military mastermind?
Well, he was definitely a different kind of leader, maybe not as flashy on the battlefield as Judas.
But he has his own strengths.
Oh, absolutely. Jonathan, he was clever, a real strategist. He knew that Judea's survival depended on more than just winning battles.
He was about playing the political game, too.
Right. And boy, was the game complicated.
I mean, we're talking about rival claimants to the Seleucid throne, shifting alliances, double-crossing.
Exactly. And Jonathan, he had to navigate all of that.
He had to pick his battles carefully.
You got it. And he did it masterfully. He managed to secure favorable terms for Judea, strengthen their defenses.
Even expanded their territory a bit.
Impressive, right?
Yeah, but it couldn't last forever, could it?
Unfortunately not, because there was always someone else lurking in the shadows, ready to make a power grab.
And in this case, it was.
Tryphon,
Oh.
a Seleucid general with a serious ambition problem.
So how did he try to take Jonathan down?
With deception, of course. He tricked Jonathan into a meeting, then took him prisoner.
Held him for ransom.
You bet. And it was a steep price. Simon, another Maccabee brother, he stepped up to negotiate.
I can't imagine the pressure he was under.
No kidding. He offered Tryphon a ton of silver, even 2 of Jonathan's sons as hostages.
He put his own family on the line to save his brother. That's loyalty.
Yeah, but it was all for nothing. Tryphon, he took the ransom, the hostages.
Yep.
He had Jonathan killed anyway, just like that.
What a betrayal. And what about Jonathan's sons?
Same fate. Tryphon had them murdered. It was a brutal end to a chapter filled with so much hope and promise.
And Simon, I mean, how do you even begin to process that kind of loss?
It must have been crushing, but Simon, he had to find a way to carry on, to lead his people through this darkness.
To pick up the pieces and keep fighting. And that, my friends, is where we'll pick up next time. Welcome back, everyone. We left off with Simon facing, well, pretty much the impossible.
Oh yeah, his brother murdered, his nephews taken hostage, the threat of invasion. Talk about a tough spot.
So what do you do when everything seems to be falling apart around you? How did Simon handle this crisis?
You know, it's amazing, really. He could have easily given in to despair or, lashed out in anger, but he didn't.
He had a level head on his shoulders.
He chose a different path. He focused on what he could control.
Like what kind of things?
Strengthening Judea's borders, making their cities more defensible, basically getting their house in order.
Smart move. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best.
Exactly. He knew that internal unity, that was key. They couldn't afford to be divided, especially with Tryphon breathing down their necks.
So he's fortifying Judea. But what about Tryphon? Was he just twiddling his thumbs?
Not exactly. He did try to invade, marched his forces towards Adora, a strategically important city.
A real test for Simon's leadership.
Oh, yeah. And his sons, Judas and John Hyrcanus, they led the Jewish forces. But they were smart about it. They didn't just charge headlong into battle.
They knew Tryphon's army was bigger, more experienced.
Right. So they used guerrilla tactics, hit-and-run attacks, disrupted Tryphon's supply lines, just made life miserable for him.
Wearing them down. A war of attrition.
Exactly. And then a little bit of luck came their way.
Oh.
A massive snowstorm hit, threw Tryphon's whole campaign into disarray.
Talk about bad timing.
He was forced to retreat back to Gilead.
Mother Nature stepped in and saved the day. But what about Jonathan's sons? Were they still hostages?
This is where things get really tragic. Before Tryphon retreated, he had them killed. Just a senseless act of cruelty.
It's just awful. Simon loses his brother, then his nephews. It's hard to imagine the pain he must have felt.
It's a testament to his strength that he was able to keep going. He knew his people needed him.
He had to be strong for them.
Right. And he was. He kept building up Judea, strengthening their defenses, promoting trade.
He was creating a foundation for a truly independent nation.
That's exactly it. And one of his biggest achievements, he recaptured the citadel in Jerusalem.
Wow, that must have been a huge symbolic victory.
Oh, absolutely. The citadel, it was a symbol of Seleucid oppression. Taking it back, that sent a powerful message.
Judea was back in control. But Simon, he wasn't just focused on military victories.
No, he knew that true independence, it required more than that. He needed allies. So he renewed the treaty with Rome.
Smart move. Having the Romans on your side, that's always a good thing.
And he also reached out to Sparta. He understood the power of diplomacy.
He was thinking long-term, building relationships, securing Judea's future.
Exactly. He was a true statesman. But tragically, his reign was cut short.
Oh no, what happened?
He was betrayed and murdered by his own son-in-law, Ptolemy.
Betrayed by his own family. That's a Shakespearean level of tragedy. Why would Ptolemy do that?
Power, probably. Ambition. Jealousy. It's a reminder that even the best of leaders can be brought down by those closest to them.
So what happened to Judea after Simon's death?
His son, John Hyrcanus, he took over, managed to fend off Ptolemy and continue the Hasmonean dynasty.
So Simon's legacy lived on?
It did. He may have died tragically, but the foundations he laid for an independent Judea, they held strong. The Hasmonean dynasty, it continued for generations.
It's really an incredible story. These guys, they faced overwhelming odds, incredible hardship, and they never gave up.
Their story is a reminder that even a small group of people can make a huge difference. That faith, courage, and determination, those are powerful forces.
And that's the legacy of the Maccabees. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It's been quite a journey.